Shishi, Parshas Metzora. The Aliyah begins with discussing the laws of a Nida. Nida laws is actually one of the most important laws in terms of marriage, of Taras HaMishpacha. And Minat Torah, a woman that is a Nida during certain times of the month, where she sees Dam, she's Tmeya at least 7 days, and if she cannot make a hefsek tahara, she cannot ascertain that she is no longer seeing uterine blood flow, so she can be tmei even more than that. But we know that once she's able to make the hefsek tahara, in B'zman hazeh we add more days for beyond the scope of this discussion. But then once that is done, today we actually count Shivan Akiyim, not Minat Torah, that's not required as part of the din of Nida, and she goes to the mikveh. But mikveh, we know, Taras Mishpacha, the whole idea of going to the mikveh is really one of the main important parts of the whole idea of what Nida is. That's how we learn it. That it creates a vibrancy in the marriage, and there's still excitement in the marriage, and there's a time out that leads that we come back and renew the physical parts of the marriage. And it's fascinating that Rabbi Mordechai points out that in the parsha that we hear in Metzora, this Aliyah, there's no mention of going to the mikveh for the Nida. And he brings down from the Gaonim, from Yehudai Gaon, that it's a Kal V'chomer, that if something that she sits on, then that becomes Tameh, and that becomes pure only through going to the mikveh. It's a Kal V'chomer. She becomes Tahor through going to a mikveh. And there's other different Rishonim giving different Terutzim. How do we see that she needs to go to the mikveh? But there is no mention of the Nida going to the mikveh. Of course she has to go to the Zayim. The Yomim is not enough. You need to have Yomim and you have to mikveh. Why did Torah why only intimate this concept of mikveh, or allude to it, but not actually front and center say that a Nida needs to go to the mikveh? And I was thinking like this, perhaps it is as follows, that most of us, when we talk about Taras Mishpacha, the main focus is we cannot wait for the wife to go to the mikveh. We focus on going to the mikveh, that she'll become tahora, and then we can resume the physical aspects of the marriage. And that generally is how it's taught to all of us, is that this is a renewal of the marriage, but it is the focus is on the going to the mikveh and the woman becoming tahor again. Maybe that's not really the primary focus. Maybe what the primary focus is teaching us, as the Medrash says, we know that the concept of Nida is actually connected to the Chet of Adam and Chava, where there was this tremendous loss. Man went from being an eternal being to being a finite being. Death descended on the world. This connection to death, to sin, to death. And Nida has that, alludes to the idea that there's been a loss of potential, an egg has been lost, there is a loss of sin connected the way the Kuzri explains it, but primarily is that the tikkun of Adam and Chava was they did not have restraint. They were given boundaries of this is what has to be done, and they overstepped those boundaries. They ate from the tree that they weren't allowed to eat from. And maybe the main focus is to focus on the process of the 7 days that we are restraining ourselves, or we are being held back from what we would like to partake in. And that should be the main focus, not the main focus on going to the mikveh and what happens after these days are over. But actually the main focus has to be the fact that we have to teach ourselves restraint, especially in today where everything is about self-gratification and immediate gratification, that we want to have it immediately. And no, we have to teach ourselves is that no, a person has to understand there are boundaries. A person must teach themselves restraint. And the Torah therefore never mentions the mikveh directly, only mentions the process that leads to when one needs to go to the mikveh.